This episode of Monster Model Review, from the mind of H.P. Lovecraft, we have the Yitian, one of the Great Race of Yith. I'm your host, Rob Mattison, and also the sculptor of this kit. Originally appearing in a short story, The Shadow Out of Time, in the mid-30s, the Yith have made many appearances over the years in literature, games, and has a starring role in the history of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. I've always been a big fan of the creatures of H.P. Lovecraft, and over the years have sculpted a couple of them. Last year I decided to try my hand at making a full figure sculpt of the Yitian in the classic Aurora 1/13 scale series, and using all my kids' old Super Sculpey, I sculpted a Yith in my own interpretation. After I finished my rendition, I reread The Shadow Out of Time and wanted to make a sculpt a little more traditional, so using AV's Epoxy Sculpt and Super Sculpey, I resculpted the piece and created a base for it with hopes of entering it in the model contest at Wonderfest, the largest model convention in the United States. At the convention, Larry Johnson from Action Hobbies liked the creature design, history, and fit into the Prehistoric Scenes, and decided to make it into a solid resin model kit. Now here is co-host Chris Gierke to talk about the building up of the Yith.
To start off, the kit comes in 21 parts. Now don't be scared off by the high part count. 12 of them are the antenna and neck tentacles. The rest of the parts consist of 7 for the figure and 2 for the base and nameplate. The castings were very good. There were only 2 air bubbles that needed to be filled, and the mold lines on the kit were minimal. All I needed to clean them up was a flat file and emery board. The brake lines on the body parts are all placed at natural separation seams, except one. The front arm is cut across, so some putty work is called for. You will, of course, still have to fill in the small gaps at the natural brake lines. The 8 tentacles and 4 antennae were cast on a tree, so care must be taken when removing them. Also, when you attach them to the kit, it's a good idea to drill out small holes to place them in. This adds a little strength to the connection points. I attached them before painting, but if I were to do it again, I would probably wait until after. One other cool feature is an Aurora-style instruction sheet. A short history of the Yith and assembly direction is described. Oh, and speaking of Aurora, Rob designed the base to fit in with the Prehistoric Scenes diorama. For the nameplate, Rob contacted Fritz Freising to reproduce his design. If you're looking for a quality nameplate, Fritz is the man. The instructions give you a color guide for painting the kit, but I found when looking online that people took liberties on the creature's color scheme. So I did when painting mine. I base coated the figure in raw sienna and dry brushed with various yellows. The claws were done with a medium brown and also dry brushed with a cream color. I then antiqued them with a chestnut stain. The siphon tubes were base coated with a red-brown and dry brushed with a red-pink color. This was also antiqued with a cherry oak stain. The eyes, tentacles, and antenna were all painted with various colors to add a little pizzazz to the kit. Another thing I did was to create a base of my own. I did this for 2 reasons. 1, I'm not into the prehistoric scenes. 2, the base for the kit is good size, and shelf space is lacking at my house, so I created something a little more space-friendly. Well, that wraps it up. While I'm not familiar with the character, I enjoyed not only the design of the Yith, but building and painting it.
Thanks, Chris. I built my kit straight out of the box. I base coated the figure and the appendages in a dark brown. I painted the 4 trumpets in front a red, and did the claws in a light tan. Then I antiqued everything in a dark brown. I did a little more dry brushing of gray to tie in the colors, and the body was pretty much finished. I base coated and dry brushed up the head, stalks, and tentacles, and painted the eyes black with a white highlight, and the figure was done. The base was base coated in black and dry brushed up with different shades of brown, green, and gray. I did an overall antiquing process to this too in the dark brown and black, and that was pretty much done. And the nameplate was painted up with base colors. I'd like to thank Chris for reviewing the piece. I'd also like to thank Andrew Ritchie for supplying the art for the cover and the instructions, and thanks to Action Hobbies for producing it. You can check out more of Action Hobbies at actionhobbiesstore.com, and you can see more of Monster Model Review at monstermodelreview.com. I've been your host, Rob Mattison, and thanks for watching.